This world is becoming scary. Not even your house, your biggest asset that you own, is safe anymore. There are people out there filing fake documents, forging signatures, and taking over homes that don't belong to them. Families who have worked hard for years buy their home or build their home, suddenly finding out that their house is no longer in their name. And the worst part is, it's easier to do than you think. Today, I'm going to share a few stories with you and then give you some tips on how to make sure your home never gets stolen right underneath your nose. Before we dive in, I want to remind you to stay with me until the end. I am going to share with you exactly what you can do right now to protect your title. Now, let's start with the first one because this story will make you double check your own deed.
It's likely your biggest investment. You buy a home, and when you get that deed, you assume it's safely yours. But sometimes it's not so safe.
The brazenness of this really gets me.
Daniel Rabb and his business partner held the mortgage on a building in Venice. They say the owner never paid, so they filed a foreclosure. That's when they discovered there was a problem. They claimed the person forged a document reconveying the property to him.
So here's what happening from my understanding. They tried to foreclose on a property because someone didn't pay. And in that process, they find out that the entire deed was fake. Think about that for a second. You're dealing with all the normal paperwork. And suddenly you realize that the property was never legally transferred the way you thought. The boldness of it, the level of confidence that these scammers have is crazy. And it's not just happening in random cities. This is happening in neighborhoods across the country to homeowners who did everything right.
We immediately call up the trustee that handled the foreclosure and that had signed this rescission. And she said, that's not us. That's a total fake. In fact, our notary stamp is spelled wrong.
They claim that person was able to file the fake documents with the county, and it went through.
Can you believe that? A fake notary stamp and the county still accept it. You would think that there would be a system that flags something like that, right? Nope, the whole thing went through. So that means if someone takes the time to fake a few pages, copy a stamp, and upload it online, the system might think it's real. And that right there is what makes this whole deed takeover so scary. The technology that made filing it faster also made it easier for people to abuse it. And it's not just one case. Across the country, people are usually finding out the same way, usually by accident. A bill doesn't come, a notice shows a new name, or like the next guy in this next clip, he checked Zillow.
It took John Witt Jenkins a long time to get this home. He bought the land in Dunedin in 1998 for just $15,000. Then, in 2003, he started building the two-story house, brick by brick, taking him 3 years.
I built this house for under $100,000 with, the sweat equity that I put into this.
Like a lot of us, from time to time, he checks the value of his investment. When he checked Zillow in 2019, he couldn't believe what he saw.
I'm like, why is Zillow saying my house is recently sold? And for $160,000, when the market value is like, $350 at the time.
Can you imagine that? You build your house from the ground up, and one day you just casually check in Zillow and it says your house was sold by you. I can only imagine the shock and how robbed he must have felt after all the work he put into his house. Every brick, every late night, every dollar he ever invested. And suddenly it looks like it's all gone on paper. And the crazy part is Zillow wasn't wrong. Somebody actually recorded a fake sale.
And stuff. So I'm panicking.
That panic turned to fear when he went to the county property appraiser's office and discovered this deed had been filed with his forged signature, showing he sold the house.
And I said, let's look at some camera footage when this person tried to record this deed.
I don't blame him for panicking. Imagine finding that out. You start to ask yourself, how is this even possible? You didn't sell it, you didn't sign anything. But once that document is filed, the county system says you did. And now you're stuck proving you didn't.
And it was like it was done online. I'm like, you just allow anybody just to send documents and you just go with it with any type of authenticity, any type of, verification like that? Yeah, that's just what we do.
The deed looks legit, but according to the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, it's fake. And the notary stamp that made this official, you guessed it, it's fake too.
They just gave him my house on probably 2 hours worth of work of electronically transmitting those documents.
Wow, and your house that you built.
With my hands, For 3 years, nights and weekends is when I worked on this house.
It took Jenkins 2 months to get his house back.
2 hours to steal it and 2 months to get it back. That's the part that hit me. All it took was someone behind a computer uploading a fake document that looked official. And while he's fighting to prove that it's fake, his life work is sitting in someone else's name. That's one of the new realities of owning a home. If you're not watching your records, someone else could be. And he's not the only one. Families who inherited homes from their parents are finding forged signatures, properties being transferred without their permission. And the fight to fix it can take months, even years.
Losing a mother to failing health is devastating enough. Trying to protect her home from fraudsters during this time has made that pain and sadness far more difficult to bear.
Home ownership represents the pinnacle of years of diligent and hard work and service. And that's why deed theft is such a serious and an awful crime.
And it's not just New York.
My parents passed away, and somehow they found a way to forge the signature.
In Dallas, a man was sentenced to 9 years in prison and ordered to pay $550,000 in restitution for stealing the home of this man's late parents and 19 others.
Now that one hurts to hear. Imagine losing your parents and then losing your house because somebody decided to forge their names. That's more than losing money. That's losing a piece of your life. Those homes aren't just properties. They're memories, legacies, the results of decades of work. The good news is some states are starting to fight back. Texas lawmakers have already introduced new penalties for deed fraud. Pennsylvania and North Carolina are working on similar bills. And more counties are adding an alert system that notifies you anytime a document with your name gets recorded. Problem is, not everyone knows these systems exist, and not every county offers them yet. So, how do you protect yourself from these title pirates? All right, let's talk about what you can actually do to protect your home. Because, let's be honest, this whole thing is crazy, but there are steps that can make a real difference. These people are being called title pirates. Yes, and it's exactly what it sounds like. They forge your signature, fake a notary stamp, upload the paperwork to the county, and boom, they've officially stolen your home on paper. The system was built for convenience, not protection. And that's one of the things that makes it so dangerous. County clerks and recorders do have rules, and most counties still works on what one attorney called an honor system, meaning they don't always verify every notary stamp or signature. First things first, check your property records regularly. Go straight to your county's recorder or property appraiser's website. Every county in the US have an online record system now. Type in your name or your property address and make sure the most recent deed or title document still lists you as the owner. If you see something's off, a document you didn't sign, a name you don't recognize, or a recorded transfer, contact the county recorder immediately. In some cases, you may need to call your title company or an attorney to start the reversal process. Next is pay attention to your mail. Scammers often change your mailing address without you realizing it. If your property tax bill, mortgage statement, or even utility bills stop coming, that's a red flag. It could mean your address was changed, your mail was intercepted, or someone's pretending to be you. The Los Angeles Department of Consumer and Business Affairs says one of the first warning signs of deed fraud is missing mail. So if you notice something like that, call your county assessor or your post office to verify your mailing address on file. Next is sign up for a property e-notification service. A lot of cities, especially big ones like Los Angeles, Miami, and Dallas, now offer a free e-notification system. Here's how it works. You register your name or your property address online. If any document gets recorded under your name, whether it's a deed, a lien, or a mortgage, you will get an alert right away. It's basically like an early warning system for your property. LA County programs will notify you the same day something is filed. And the sooner you know, the easier it is to fix. Because once someone records a fake deed and starts renting or selling the house, you're looking at a long legal battle. Now, if you're in Miami-Dade, this is even more important. important. This is one of the busiest real estate markets in the country, and that also makes it a bigger target. Miami-Dade County does have a system where you can search your property records online, and I highly recommend checking it regularly because down here, things move fast, and once something is recorded, it doesn't just disappear. But if it just sits, that's when it turns into a real problem. Verify every notary and document. If you ever sign or record documents, especially for refinancing, transferring, or updating your title, double check that the notary stamp and the name are legitimate. Attorneys in these cases have pointed out that fake notary seals are one of the biggest red flags. Some even had misspelled notary names and still got accepted. The recorder's office can look up that notary registration number to make sure it's real, but they don't always do it. So if you see something's off, a blurry stamp, a seal that looks printed, or missing information, don't ignore it. Next is protect your identity online. These scammers don't just pull names out of thin air. They often steal information from data breaches or mail theft. So make sure you lock down your personal info. Always use two-factor authentication on your email. Shred all mortgage and tax papers before you throw them in the trash. Never post your address or property details on public sites, because once someone has your full name, address, and maybe even your signature from old paperwork, they have everything they need to fake ownership. Next, know what happens if it ever happens to you. If your home does get stolen on paper, it's not a quick fix, and that's what most people don't realize. You'll need to go through the court system to get it reversed, because legally, the person who forged the deed becomes the recorded owner until a judge says otherwise. Lawyers say it can take a year and a half, sometimes up to 3 years to get your title back, and it can cost you tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees. So your best defense is catching it early before it gets that far. Next is create a home file. Keep copies of your title, mortgage, property tax statement, and closing papers all in one secure place. If everything ever comes into question, you will need those originals to prove ownership. And if you're an older homeowner or you've inherited a property, make sure to have a trusted family member who will know where those records are. Scammers tend to target seniors and vacant homes because there's less activities and fewer eyes watching the mail. So here's the bottom line. Title thieves rely on silence and delay. They count on you not checking your records, not noticing a missing bill, and not questioning a new notice in the mail. The more eyes you have on your property, the safer you are. So go set up those alerts and check on your county's website every now and then. And talk about this with your neighbors and family, because the ones who know what's going on are the ones who won't have to fight to prove ownership later. You know, after hearing these stories, it's so easy to feel uneasy, like nothing is safe anymore. But I want to leave you with this reminder. God is still your ultimate protection. Psalms 91 verse 1 says, "Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadows of the Almighty." The world may change, system may fail, but God covering doesn't. So even when things feel uncertain, whether it's your home, your finances, or your next step, stay anchored in Him. Pray over your home, dedicate it to God every day, and trust that no matter what happens on paper, His hand is still on your life and everything you've built. If this message spoke to you, share it with someone who needs a reminder that peace and protection doesn't come from the world, it comes from God. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay faithful, and take care of your home. I will see you in the next video. Bye.